The school cafeteria was noisy, children laughing, tables clattering, but Anita Josephine sat quietly, staring at her empty lunchbox. The bell had rung, everyone was eating, and her small hands gripped the box tighter, hiding it from the others. Across the room, Min Seo-han, the Korean billionaire's daughter, noticed. She frowned, tilting her head, as she watched Anita pretend to chew invisible food. Min Seo reached into her own lunchbox, filled with fresh sushi and fruit, and walked toward Anita. "Do you want some?" she asked softly. Anita forced a smile. "No, thank you, I'm not hungry." But her stomach growled loudly. The other kids burst out laughing. Tears burned in her eyes as she lowered her head. Just then, a deep voice echoed from the hallway. "Min Seo?" The entire cafeteria froze. Mr. Han Jun-woo himself, South Korea's youngest billionaire, stood at the door in his dark suit, searching for his daughter. His sharp eyes landed on Anita, on the empty lunchbox, on the laughter. The room fell silent. Min Seo ran to him and tugged his sleeve. "Appa, her lunchbox is empty." Han Jun-woo's expression changed, cold, then furious. He turned to the teachers watching awkwardly. "Is this how you treat children here?" he asked in a dangerously calm voice. Everyone stared, confused and terrified. Anita's tiny voice trembled. "Please, sir, it's okay." But the billionaire looked straight at her and said, "No, little one, it's not okay." Mr. Han didn't return to his car immediately. Instead, he sat on a bench outside the school, eyes fixed on the playground where Anita stood alone, clutching her lunchbox. The sadness in that small face wouldn't leave his mind. When the teacher approached timidly, he asked, "Who's that girl?" "That's Anita Josephine," she replied nervously. "Her mother works night shifts, cleaning offices. Sometimes, Anita skips lunch because they can't afford it." Mr. Han's jaw tightened. A cleaner's daughter? His gaze softened for a moment, then hardened again as if making a decision. "Find out where they live," he said quietly. That evening, his car pulled up in front of a small apartment building on the outskirts of Seoul. The place looked worn out, dim lights, peeling walls, and children's laughter echoing faintly. Through a cracked window, he saw Anita sitting at a tiny table, doing her homework beside a tired-looking woman folding laundry. She smiled at her daughter, as if the world wasn't heavy on her shoulders. Mr. Han's assistant looked at him through the rear mirror. "Sir, should I announce you?" Han shook his head slowly. "No, not yet." He leaned back, watching the woman stroke her daughter's hair gently. For the first time in years, something stirred in his chest, a feeling he thought he'd buried long ago. He murmured, "No child should ever feel hunger because of the world's cruelty." The next morning, the school buzzed with whispers before the first bell even rang. A black limousine gleamed outside the gate, and reporters gathered like bees. No one understood why the country's most powerful billionaire was back at an ordinary primary school. Inside, Anita sat quietly at her desk, unaware of the storm outside. The teacher walked in, pale and trembling. "Students, we have a guest." Mr. Han entered, followed by his assistants carrying large boxes wrapped in gold ribbons. Every child gasped. The teachers bowed, but his eyes searched only for one face, Anita's. He smiled faintly. "Good morning, children. Yesterday, I saw something that broke my heart." The room went silent. He lifted one of the boxes and placed it gently in front of Anita. "This is for you, and for every child who ever felt left out." Inside the box was a set of new lunchboxes, each filled with healthy meals and small notes written in Korean and English. "You are special. You are seen. You matter." Tears welled up in Anita's eyes as she whispered, "You didn't have to, sir." He smiled kindly. "Sometimes we do what we don't have to, because it's the right thing to do." Then, turning to the principal, his tone sharpened. "From today, no student in this school should ever go hungry. I'll fund your entire meal program." The whole school erupted, teachers crying, students cheering. But behind Mr. Han's calm smile was a question he couldn't shake. Why did Anita's eyes look so familiar? Mr. Han couldn't sleep that night. The image of Anita's trembling smile kept flashing before him, and those eyes, those same bright, defiant eyes he once fell in love with years ago. He sat by the window of his penthouse, rain streaking down the glass, clutching an old photograph. It was of a young woman, dark-skinned, beautiful, laughing beside him under the cherry blossoms. Her name echoed in his mind like a ghost. Clara? Suddenly, his phone buzzed. "Sir?" His assistant spoke cautiously. "We traced the girl's mother. She works as a cleaner at Seoul Grand Hotel, the same company that manages your properties." Mr. Han's breath caught. "What's her name?" "Clara Josephine." The phone nearly slipped from his hand. His heartbeat thundered. "Impossible," he whispered. "She left 10 years ago, without a word." He stood abruptly, storming toward the door. "Prepare the car." Minutes later, he walked into the hotel's staff quarters, ignoring every startled greeting. Then he froze. Clara stood at the end of the hallway, wearing a cleaner's uniform, holding a mop. When she looked up and saw him, the mop fell from her hands. "Junwoo," she breathed. His voice was low, trembling with old pain. "You disappeared, Clara, and now I find a little girl with your eyes, hungry, humiliated, and alone." Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Please, not here." But he stepped closer. "You owe me the truth." Clara's hands trembled as she led Mr. Han into the small cleaning storage room. The air smelled faintly of detergent and sadness. She shut the door and turned to him, eyes red, chest heaving. "I never wanted you to find out this way," she whispered. "Then why did you run?" His voice was tight and angry. "You left me without a word. Do you know what that did to me?" Clara swallowed hard. "I didn't run because I wanted to. I ran because I had to." He frowned. "Had to?" She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, worn bracelet, the same one his late mother gave her years ago. "When your father found out about us, he threatened me. He said if I didn't disappear, he'd destroy my family and take our baby." Mr. Han's world stopped. "Our baby?" Clara's lips quivered. "Anita is your daughter, Junwoo." Silence fell. Only the hum of the ceiling light filled the room. He stepped back, stunned. "No, that's impossible." "She was born a month after I left," Clara said, tears streaming down her face. "I've been raising her alone, hiding her so your family wouldn't hurt her like they hurt me." Mr. Han's jaw tightened as emotions warred in his chest: anger, guilt, and heartbreak. "She's been starving." "My daughter?" he said in disbelief. Clara nodded slowly. "Because I'd rather she be hungry and safe than rich and ruined." Mr. Han stood frozen. Every word Clara said echoed through his mind like thunder. "Our daughter, Anita." He stared at the bracelet in her hand, proof of a past he buried, a love he thought had died. His breath grew shallow as anger twisted into guilt. Without a word, he stormed out of the storage room. Clara followed, afraid of what he might do. He found Anita in the school's quiet garden, sitting alone with her worn lunchbox, tracing patterns in the sand. When she saw him, she smiled shyly, the same smile that used to melt his heart years ago when Clara smiled. He knelt beside her. "Anita, do you know who I am?" She shook her head. "You're the man who gave me lunch, right?" His throat tightened. He wanted to hug her, to tell her everything, but the words stuck. "Yes," he whispered, voice cracking. "And I'll make sure you never eat from an empty lunchbox again." Clara stood nearby, tears rolling silently. Mr. Han looked up at her, his eyes wet, his tone trembling. "You suffered because of me, and she suffered because of both of us." He turned to Anita again and gently took her hand. "From today, you're coming home with me. You deserve better. Both of you do." Clara gasped. "Junwoo, your father." "I don't care anymore," he said firmly. "If he tries to destroy us again, I'll be the one standing in his way this time." News traveled faster than fire in a dry forest. Within hours, Chairman Han Jun-woo's father summoned him to the grand family mansion. The atmosphere inside was thick with tension. Marble floors gleamed beneath crystal chandeliers, but even luxury couldn't hide the storm brewing within the old man's eyes. "Tell me it's a lie," the chairman said coldly. "You brought that woman and her child into my house?" Jun-woo stood tall. "She's not just a woman. Clara is my wife, and Anita is my daughter." The chairman's cane struck the floor with a sharp crack. "Do you want to destroy everything I built? That child doesn't belong in our bloodline." Jun-woo's fists clenched. "You destroyed me once when you made me sign those divorce papers. I won't let you destroy her too. You're willing to give up your inheritance for them?" Without hesitation, Jun-woo stepped forward. "I'd rather be poor with them than rich without love." At that moment, Clara and Anita entered the room. Anita held a small drawing, her mom, and Mr. Jun, holding hands. She walked up to the old man and smiled innocently. "This is my family," she said softly. The chairman froze. His eyes flickered to the drawing, then to the little girl's face, a reflection of his own son when he was young. His cane trembled slightly. "Get them out!" he whispered hoarsely. But his voice lacked the fire it once carried because something had begun to crack inside him. The mansion, once cold and silent, now echoed with the sound of a child's laughter. Anita ran through the long golden corridors, chasing a butterfly that had slipped in through the open garden door. Chairman Han sat in his study, trying to read the morning paper, but he couldn't. Each time Anita's soft giggle echoed, he found himself listening instead. That evening, she walked into his study uninvited, clutching a tray with a tiny sandwich and a cup of tea. "Grandpa," she said shyly, "Mommy says you didn't eat dinner, so I brought you this." The old man blinked. No one had called him Grandpa before. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. "I'm not your grandpa," he muttered. Anita smiled, her small hand pushing the tray closer. "That's okay. I'll still share my food." He looked at her innocent eyes, and that same stubborn kindness Jun-woo once had. Slowly, he reached for the cup, his hands trembling. "You made this?" She nodded proudly. "Yes. I used too much honey, though. Mommy said you look like someone who doesn't smile much, so I made it sweet." The chairman froze again, then let out a sound no one had heard in years. A small, rough laugh. From the hallway, Clara watched silently, tears in her eyes. Jun-woo placed a hand on her shoulder. "See?" he whispered. "She's doing what we couldn't. She's healing him." A week later, Chairman Han invited Clara and Anita to the family dinner. The entire mansion buzzed with whispers. The staff couldn't believe it. His own sons and daughters-in-law exchanged worried glances. When Clara arrived, she was dressed simply. A cream dress Anita had picked out. Anita clung to her hand, unaware of the sharp eyes watching them. The long table was lined with silver cutlery and crystal wine glasses. No one spoke until the chairman lifted his glass. "Before we eat," he said in his deep voice, "I have something to say." Everyone froze. He looked at Anita first. "This little girl reminded me what it means to be human." His gaze shifted to Clara. "And her mother reminded me what grace looks like." The relatives whispered. One cousin muttered, "Father, she's the maid." The old man slammed his glass down. "Not anymore," he barked. "From today, she's family." The room went dead silent. Clara's hands shook. Anita looked up at her, confused, then smiled and whispered, "Mommy, does that mean we can stay?" Chairman Han turned to her with a soft chuckle. "Yes, little one. You're not leaving again." The family dinner that started with tension ended with laughter. Laughter that echoed through the mansion like sunlight breaking through clouds. By morning, the mansion's peace vanished. News broke across every major Korean outlet. Chairman Han's lost granddaughter found? Billionaire invites his maid and daughter to family dinner. Reporters flooded the gates, cameras flashing like lightning. Clara's phone wouldn't stop buzzing, Her photo holding Anita's hand was everywhere. At work, people whispered. Some mocked her, others defended her. She was just doing her job, one maid muttered. Now everyone's pretending they were kind to her. Clara wanted to hide, but Chairman Han refused. Let them talk, he said calmly, flipping through a newspaper. Truth doesn't hide. That evening, he called a press conference. Cameras flashed as Clara and Anita stood beside him. The woman beside me, he said, worked for me when no one else would. She cared for me when my family turned cold. She is not just my employee. She is my family. Gasps filled the room. Anita, holding her teddy, looked up at the crowd and said, "Thank you for seeing my mom." The hall erupted into applause. Reporters clapped. Even those who once mocked her wiped their eyes. As they left the stage, Chairman Han leaned toward Clara and whispered, "Tomorrow, we'll make it official." Clara blinked. "Make what official?" He smiled softly. "That you and Anita are Han family in name and blood." The next morning, Seoul's sky glowed gold, soft sunlight spilling over the Han mansion. The gate that once only opened for the powerful now opened for a woman who once cleaned its floors. Inside, reporters gathered as Chairman Han, dressed in a tailored navy suit, stood beside Clara and little Anita. Anita's hair was tied with a pink ribbon, the same one her mother used when she was 3. A notary stepped forward with the papers. The entire nation watched live. Chairman Han spoke gently but firmly, his deep voice echoing through the hall. "When I lost my son, I thought life ended for me. But then I met this woman, who taught me that love doesn't always come by blood. Sometimes it's chosen. And now, I choose them." Clara's eyes filled. Her trembling hands reached for the pen. She signed, tears spilling freely as flashbulbs lit up the room. Anita, too small to understand the full weight of it, hugged the old man's leg and whispered, "Grandpa, can we eat now?" Laughter rippled through the hall. Even Chairman Han chuckled, wiping a tear. "Yes, my little one. From now on, you'll never eat with an empty lunchbox again." He turned to Clara and added softly, "Neither will you." Outside, the once gossiping maids and neighbors stood at the gate, clapping. Clara didn't look at them in pride. She looked up to the sky, whispering, "Thank you, God." As the camera zoomed out, Anita sat on her grandfather's lap, feeding him cake, while Clara laughed beside them. The family that began with an empty lunchbox was now full of love, forgiveness, and a new beginning. The moral lesson of this story is, never look down on anyone because of their condition or background. The person you ignore today might be the very one destiny uses to heal your broken heart tomorrow.